So, this week's podcast episode is a little different because I'm going to be talking about why you shouldn't listen to an astrologer, which may seem strange coming from an astrologer, but just hold tight and let me walk you through my train of thought, and maybe you'll agree with me and maybe you won't. So, every astrologer is different. Some astrologers focus on doing birth chart readings and helping you uncover what's in your birth chart, you know, what your chart can tell you about your soul's purpose, about who you are. Some astrologers focus on using the birth chart for things like business or career or planning. Some astrologers do synastry charts and help you really work on your relationships and your values and how you want to show up in relationships through the elements, through the indicators of your birth chart. And then some astrologers like me do a lot of predictive astrology, which is really like weather forecasting. Astrologers can sometimes get a bad rap for thinking they like, not the astrologers themselves, but the society's what's the word, view of astrologers is that astrologers are like making predictions about like fate and this is going to happen to you, and this is like, the whole like crystal ball, like overblown Hollywood version of anything woo. But predictive astrologers like I do with my monthly and daily astrology forecast, with my seasonal, like horse zodiac season astrology forecast that I post here on the podcast. It's predictive astrology. I am looking at the upcoming transits and telling you what I see in them. It's like a meteorologist when they are looking at the weather patterns. They're looking at the wind and the pressure, the low and high pressure, and all of the things that combine, to make our temperature and our weather. And they can, there's technology so they can see, oh, there's a hurricane, and it's, they can roughly predict where it's going to go. But they're not 100%, right? A meteorologist they're fallible. Like, there's human error. There's also bias. There's also, no matter what technology we have, we can't predict everything. Because nature is nature, and it's going to do what it wants to do. And the same thing really applies to astrology, and particularly predictive astrology. So when I'm giving the forecast, whether it be for the month, the year, the week, the day, it is my version of looking at the high and low pressure and the wind direction and, the sand coming off of the Sahara, and how those weave together to make our weather. It's just my weather is about energy and moods and how we interact with ourselves and others. And why I am saying you shouldn't listen to an astrologer is because each astrologer, while there is a base, there is a, like a somewhat of a standard when it comes to learning the things about, the different houses, the different planets, the different signs, and their themes or keywords that most astrologers would agree on. The interpretation, when we put all those together, can differ. And no interpretation is, air quotes here, right or wrong. They're just different interpretations, just like different meteorologists may have different interpretations of what they are seeing with the elements they have available to them for weather forecasting. You know, one meteorologist may look at a hurricane and look at all the elements involved with the ocean currents and temperatures and all the things that helped direct hurricanes, and may say, oh, it's going to curve and go up the East Coast. Where another astrologer would look, or sorry, another meteorologist would look at that same thing and be like, no, it's not going to curve. It's going to go in the Gulf of Mexico. And it may not be, until the event is closer that there becomes a more cohesive agreement. And that doesn't mean one of those meteorologists was right and one was wrong. That was just their interpretation based on the information, based on the data that they had available to them. And the same thing applies to predictive astrology. It is the astrologer's interpretation based on the data that they have available. And their interpretation is probably heavily influenced by their own experience of these planets. It is going to be influenced by their biases. There's no way anyone can ever be 100% neutral. It's just not humanly possible. So, what I am saying is, while getting an astrologer's perspective, hearing their point of view on something that of how they view the energy, the upcoming energy, is great. But if you aren't doing self-reflection, it's not going to do you any good. Let's put this in a more everyday example. If the meteorologist, like your local meteorologist, if they tell you tomorrow it's going to be 80 degrees and sunny, but it really ends up being 60 degrees and rainy, that's not going to mean anything to you unless you take note that there was a difference. You're not ever going to be like, oh, sometimes what this meteorologist says doesn't actually pan out and appears in my life differently if you don't actually take note that it's different. So applying this to astrology, if I am telling you that the moon is going to sextile Uranus early in the morning hours, and so you may wake up and have really intense dreams and get messages from your dreams. But that's not how you experience it. You experience it as you just have a lot of ideas. You have a lot of sparks of thoughts and things you want to act on and create. If you aren't taking the time to notice that there is a difference in the way the astrology lands for you compared to how I interpret it and how I said it would present, you won't have that information going forward. You won't have that data to work with to know the next time that transit happens, because it probably will, especially if it's involving the moon, that it's different for you. And why is it important to know how these transits land for you? Because that is how you can plan a life that flows with ease. Knowing or developing even a really base, rough understanding of the transits and how they feel for you is what allows you to work with the astrology. So you can ride the waves of really high energy when you know they are coming based on either the transits or the lunar cycle or even the seasons or the zodiac seasons. You can ride that wave. You can feel like things are flowing and you're productive. And productive here can mean anything. It doesn't mean checking things off your to-do list. It's about what makes you feel good at the end of the day. And you don't have to feel like you are struggling as much. You don't have to feel like you are, battling an uphill climb, going against the current. If you're able to see what's coming ahead with the astrology and use it to your advantage to plan it so the things you need to get done are in alignment with how the astrology feels for you. And the same goes the other way. So when you have gotten an understanding of when, either in the year or the lunar cycle, you have less energy, you need more rest and downtime, you can plan that into your year, month, week. You can create a nourishing routine for yourself based on how the astrology lands for you. And this is literally why I create the tools I create, like the Soul Care Planner and the Pathfinding Journal. They are both really designed to give you prompts to reflect on the base themes that most astrologers associate with different things like the houses and the signs. But they are giving you an opportunity to reflect on how these themes show up for you in your life and how they feel for you. So you have more data to work with, you have more information where you can start to really piece together how this all comes together for you, how it fits for you, how you can work with the lunar cycle and the seasons to feel your best. Because if you have the ability, and of course, we don't get to plan everything in our lives, many things are out of our control, but if you have the ability where there's a new opportunity, a new project that is going to involve a lot of work for you, and you get to pick your deadline, it would be much easier. Things would just flow so much better if you had data to know, oh, this, whether it be this week of the month or this time of year, maybe this month of the year, or maybe these couple weeks every month, I feel really good. I have a lot of energy. I really things are flowing for me. And you can plan your work around knowing that. Or if it's about transits, and perhaps I interpret a transit to be a productive one where you have a lot of energy and you can get things done and feel very accomplished at the end of the day. But you note that time frame where I'm talking about that transit, that's not how you felt. You felt anxious. The energy for you felt restless, like you couldn't settle. There's no way you could focus to get anything done. You felt like you had so much energy that your mind was just bouncing from one place to another. And that's important to note. So you know next time I mention that transit, that isn't how it feels for you. You know how it feels for you, and you can plan accordingly. So this is why I say to not listen to astrologers, because you really want to listen to yourself. And my hope, my goal, my wish, my dream for you is that I give you the confidence to, yes, use what I'm saying as a launching pad. But what I really want you to do is reflect and take note of how you feel and start to piece together how these things feel for you, how these transits impact you. Because that is where the magic is. That is where you learn more about who you are. And when you give yourself that space to reflect and connect, that's when you develop a deeper connection to your higher self, to your intuition, to your soul's path, your purpose, your North Star. So I hope this has sparked an interest for you in doing a little bit more reflection and not just hearing what any astrologer says. Perhaps it goes one and out the other, or perhaps you adhere to it like, the ultimate guidebook. I want you to take it a step further if you can. Just experiment, try, and see where it leads you. See what checking in with yourself and noting for you how things feel. See how that impacts your day. And if you would like a little help with this, you can always check out my Soul Care Planner, which is mostly focused on the lunar cycle and using that as a guide for our feelings and how things land. But you can also check out the Pathfinding Journal, which includes not only the lunar cycle, but the seasons and zodiac seasons and retrogrades as well, to help you navigate those and figure out what they mean for you personally. So until next time.